I finally decided to sell my Sony A7C camera. Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto and I'm a photographer. Just about a year ago, shortly after I quit being a Lumix ambassador, I bought the Sony A7C to be used as my main production tool for these YouTube videos. But I also wanted a camera that I can use for photography, some sort of a hybrid camera, if you will. And the A7C was a really good choice for me. I filmed all my studio videos like this one on the A7C, and I made quite a few lens reviews also on that, and I would sincerely recommend it if you are looking for a small, compact, full-frame camera for travel, street or documentary photography. The autofocus is awesome, especially for video work like this, but it's also great for photography, one of the best autofocus systems there is. And also the battery life is superb. The battery seems to last forever and you almost never have to worry about running out of power in the middle of a shoot. And of course the image quality is great for both video and photos. And despite the tiny size, there's also IBIS. It's not the best IBIS there is, but it's still there and it helps a lot in those low light situations where you don't want to crank up your ISO too much. But the high ISO performance is also really great. ISO 12800 is really usable. However, the A7C has one downside that was almost holding me back in many situations. And that downside is that there are no separate settings for photo and video. So whenever I wanted to change from photo to video or the other way around, I had to remember to change quite a few settings like ISO, shutter speed, picture profile, photo style, white balance and quite a few other settings too, just to make sure that I don't ruin my photos or videos. And sometimes I just didn't want to go through all that trouble for a couple of photographs or just a short video clip. And that particular downside started to annoy me more and more over time. And some time ago I decided it's time to sell the A7C and get a replacement. But I would still recommend the A7C, like I said before, if you're looking for a compact full-frame camera for street, travel or documentary photography, and if you're mainly doing photography or mainly doing video and not switching back and forth very often, then it's a great little camera. But of course I needed a replacement, and my new tool for making these YouTube videos and this YouTube content is the Sony A7 Mark IV. And that camera has separate settings for both photo and video, and that was the main reason to get that camera. But it also has better ergonomics because it has also the front dial that the A7C does not have. And especially if you have lenses without aperture ring and you want to shoot on manual mode, then the A7C is a little bit awkward to use. But the A7 IV is much nicer because it has all the proper dials in all the proper places. It also has two card slots, so I can save my photos on one card and my videos on the other card, which is also very practical. And it has a new sensor, 9 more megapixels, a little bit better image quality for both video and photos, but that was not a reason for me to choose the A7 IV. But then again, it never hurts to have a little bit better image quality. But why did I go for Sony in the first place? I have covered this in some of my previous videos, but here's a short recap. First, I could not choose Nikon Z lineup because Nikon has no presence here in Finland. You can buy Nikon cameras, but they don't have a representative here. And that of course means that there's no proper support and no possibilities to, for example, borrow lenses or cameras for reviews and so on. I could not choose Canon because currently there are no third-party autofocus lenses for Canon R cameras. Canon people are great, always supportive and helpful, but that lack of third-party autofocus lenses was a deal breaker for me. So in the end, Sony seemed like the best option for me in my situation. And also the people at Sony, they are always helpful and supportive if I need something for my videos. And maybe if I was living in another country, maybe I would have chosen differently. I can't know, but it's possible. Sony cameras tend to provoke a lot of emotions, and there are a lot of people who really hate Sony cameras, which I think is really odd. I can't understand it. But even if you hate Sony cameras, you have to agree that Sony has done a lot of good for the camera market in general. They had the first reliable autofocus for video work like this, and also the first reliable phase eye autofocus for photography. And they have offered a tough competition, especially to Canon and Nikon, and I'm sure Sony has encouraged Canon and Nikon to develop their mirrorless cameras even further and further. And that kind of competition tends to benefit us consumers. A year ago, when I bought that Sony A7C, some people, quite a lot of people actually said something like, how could you jump into that Sony hype or whatever? But I deny that. My decision was purely pragmatic. I currently own Sony, Fuji, Ricoh and Panasonic cameras, and I like them all and I use them all. And I fully understand that my camera needs, my situation is probably different than yours. And therefore there is no universally the best camera or one camera that would be the best camera for all of us. And you should definitely not buy any certain camera only because I'm using that camera or someone else is using that camera. You should buy a camera that you feel is the right camera for you, your purposes and your situation. But anyway, that's all I have to say in this video. Now please pick up your camera, go out, take and make some great photos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.